Recently, I finished listening to Fredrik Backman's A Man Called Ove, which is about a Swedish older gentleman who is basically a grumpy old man. He's been through a lot in his life. He has worked extremely hard. He's very independent and capable, and he doesn't really understand the people that are around him, nor do they understand him. Without trying to spoil it, when you open the book, Ove is contemplating life and its meaning when new neighbors arrive into the housing complex area where he lives, and they flatten his letterbox with a trailer because they don't know how to drive properly with a trailer. Obviously, this irritates the grumpy old man Ove, and he has a lot of judgments about this family, but it is a heavily pregnant wife who slowly weaves her way into his life. It's a really interesting way to bring together characters who are really going to be an important part of the story and have them meet in this kind of collision way, because you get to learn a lot about Ove. You get to learn a lot about his capabilities and strengths, his opinions of other people, his inclination to help that is not necessarily driven out of a desire to help other people so much as see the rules followed, have things done properly, and have everything in order so he can go about his plans in his day. It also really sets up Ove as the grumpy old man, and it teaches us a lot about his morals and ethics as a character. In the lesser book, often what would happen is rich character details like this would be exposed over a long period of time, or if you were given this much information about a character in the opening pages, it would be done as kind of like an info dump. And that is not at all the case in this book. It feels like a very beautiful character study, and it is revealed in what feels like a very authentic way by contrasting Ove with the other characters in the book and his relationship and interactions with them. That way you learn a ton about him and also over time about them. And this is really important in the setup of the book because it's Ove's morals and hardworking nature and his ethics that actually kind of set up the story to make you understand and slowly fall in love with Ove as he tries to deal with tragedy and life and where he finds himself at this point in his life. Basically, this book is an epic character study into someone of his age with his capabilities, his independence, and it's very, very realistic. How do I know that it's realistic? Because Ove is basically my dad. They're not exactly the same person, but they're not that different either. There were so many similarities, it was actually creepy, and I suggested to my mum that she pick up the book, and she was like, yeah, no, I'm good living with the original version, thanks. I don't need to read about it as well. Things like the grumpy old man, the getting irritated at people who don't know how to drive properly or don't know how to drive a trailer or don't have any tools or don't have any supplies on standby, who don't know how to fix things or how to use tools or climb a ladder properly. It's just like on point. There was one section where Ove was kind of thinking, what's the point of being able to buy stuff when you could make it yourself? And why wouldn't you have any handyman skills or know how to reverse a trailer or stay loyal to a particular car brand and buy what is only a good mechanically sound car? And I was just like, hey Dad, what's up? There are a lot of reviews for this book online, and a lot of them were very emotional about their love for Ove and how kind of wrenching they found this book. And I mean, I really enjoyed this book. I found it to be a beautiful character study, as I've said, but I think because it's like looking at my dad, I don't think I found it as emotional as a lot of other readers might have. I don't think my dad harbors the inner romantic quite the way that Ove does, but there were such moments in this book that were beautiful and so like brief. They were just flashes of eternal love and that just could have been sappy but weren't because of the way they were written and they were almost like dropped as like a beautiful declaration of love, and then just Friedrich Bachmann just swiftly moves on. And I feel like that almost kind of made it more powerful. The quote that got me was probably the same quote that got a lot of other people, and that was, "He was a man of black and white, and she was color, all the color he had." Like, that's just beautiful. As I said, a lot of other people had a massive emotional response to this book, and I was a little bit surprised that I didn't, because it was very close to home. And because my dog died halfway through listening to this book. But it didn't, and I guess that's because maybe it gave me better insight into my father, which was not something I was expecting going in. I mean, Ove is just very like my dad, both mechanics, both extremely handy and inclined to do it themselves and to not openly discuss their emotions with other people, socially awkward. I mean, Uwe's a little better than my dad in terms of the expressing emotions and the social awkwardness, but this book was really close to home, and given its nature, I was a little surprised that I wasn't more moved by it. And so I guess this book just didn't make me as emotional as a lot of other people, because they are potentially not as used to a grumpy old man having a soft and squishy center. And I have long believed that my dad does have a soft and squishy center. And I see that when I see him playing with his grandchildren. And so I think rather than getting emotional when reading this book, there were just things that made me smile and things that made me understand my dad a little bit better. I gotta say though, when this book ended, I was a bit like, no! So, I mean, clearly very well written and a fantastic story. I read A Man Called Ove because I had seen so many positive reviews for it, and it didn't disappoint. And often I find that those books that have hugely positive reviews can sometimes be a letdown because you have such high expectations, but I didn't really have a lot of expectations going into this. I had read the description and kind of thought, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna love this. And look, it's not a kind of book I think I would read again, but it was definitely a really beautiful character study, and I think that I really appreciated and really enjoyed. And was also fascinated by that you don't have to have a book with a lot of crazy events. You could have just a really beautiful human that you examine, and that can be fascinating enough to keep you turning the pages. And that's what I took away from Ove, and some slight perspective shifts on my dad. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to like it and subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment below if you have also read A Man Called Ove and tell me what you thought about it. I'd be really interested to hear. If you like reading YA books, you can check out my books, The Hunted and A Night Rises, which are the first 2 books of the Phoenix series. They are available everywhere where books are sold in ebook and paperback format. And the 3rd book in the Phoenix series will be out very soon, so keep an eye on this channel to find out more.